All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to I Command. We have a special guest here, and we're going to be talking about Adepticon. Jake Petersen is joining us. He went to Adepticon and got to play in both of the tournaments on Friday and Saturday, and he's going to give us the breakdown of how that all went. So, Jake, hello, welcome to the channel.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Awesome. So, you guys, this was last weekend on March 25th and 26th. You traveled up to, I mean, you're people know you're in the Minnesota area. So you drove down
Yes.
to Schaumburg in Illinois to go to Adepticon, and this was kind of a last minute thing. We got contacted in January to set this up and decided to do it. Go ahead and do it. Um, you were able to make it. So why don't you do you want to talk about like the road to Adepticon?
Sure. Well, people might be familiar with my appearance on Built on Hope back in mid-February, I think it was, or early February, talking about what things I was considering running. And the list I was looking at the time turned out it was not good enough to make it all the way. So I kind of floundered around for a little bit until I stumbled onto a list for the 226 free tournament run by IA Command, and the list that I did very well with there and only lost in the final round. And I took that list, did some iterating, and then took it on to Adepticon to win the IACP tournament there.
Awesome. So that was the IACP list. What about your FFG list and tournament?
I so back when he was making and developing the list, Patrick Christians, several time national championship winner, he spent the entire summer before I think it was uh, national championship 2019. Yes, because it was when I lived there. He spent that whole summer beating the snot out of all of us with his Jawa Swarm VP list. So I figured that me having not played FFG meta since 2019, I figured I'd just go with a list that A, I've played the ICP version a few times, and B, I played against so often in FFG that I knew the basic game plan. So I played six Jawas: Hondo, Sabine, Jabba, Chopper, C3PO, and then Black Market, and Temporary Alliance. So it's and all the command card list was literally everything that gives you victory points. And so the whole game plan was to go out, snag a few objectives, kill one or two people, and then win the game with all the command card victory points.
Nice. Okay, so that was your FFG list. So that's on Friday. So before we get into the Friday tournament, let me just we'll just back up just a little bit. So you made the 8-hour drive to Schaumburg, right?
6.5. It took me 8 hours because I stopped and saw a friend on the way.
Nice. What was it like at the tournament hall where you guys were playing? Like, kind of paint a picture for everybody of that couldn't go.
Sure. So we were there. We were in the same hall as all of the AMG games, formerly FFG, as well as Corvus Infinity Belli or something like that. I always get the words mixed up, but the cool cyberpunk war game, which with really cool maps. Uh, but we were in the same hall as that, so it's just two rows of long tables with chairs on each side. So we would go past the Armada players, the Legion players, and the X-Wing players, and then we had a table basically to ourselves at the end of the AMG stuff and right before the Corvus Belli stuff, right next to God tier. And just imagine I would say probably about 40-ish long set of tables with a black tablecloth over it, and that was about it. Chairs on each side, and we just rotated around that table for for 2 days playing Imperial Assault.
Nice. Did you see anybody that you recognized in either tournament?
Um, I did see Paul Heaver in the bathroom once, so he's still in the game. And then just a couple people that I personally recognize, but not really people that I'd met in the past, but not really necessarily famous. Although I did stand next to D Yoon for a few minutes watching Table One at X Wing, so that was fun.
Nice. Okay, well, why don't we jump into your actual tournament round? So you actually marshaled the FFG tournament, right?
Yes.
But you were
So the
able to play.
FFG tournament I was running and playing in because it was 11 players. And if I remember correctly, I didn't write down what all lists were being played. I think somebody did somewhere on the Slack, but I'm not going to go check that and ruin the flow here. But there was the ones I remember off the top of my head are Joey with his Vader riots. So Joey Clooney the Mad on Slack. He's the guy with the Royal Guard champion cosplay. Him and I shared a hotel room, so I know his thinking and list pretty well. And then also playing there was David and Logan from the Michigan playgroup, who never stopped playing FFG. So they were terrifying to go up against. They know their stuff. There was also there was Brian Vandergallion, who is somebody who's been around the Imperial Assault community for a long time. Super nice guy. Always glad to see him. We also had Kenton coming in from Winnipeg. Unfortunately, Derek was unable to make it from the same thing. He had to go and have another child, I guess, and have to take care of the child. So that's and then also the one other person who was there was Destructor from Slack, who is very active there, but rarely gets on voice. So, but he showed up in person. He's a very kind, smart, and nice young boy, a young lad, and it was great to have him and his long-suffering dad, who came along with and was watching the games, even though he hadn't. It didn't seem that he had played much, but he was hanging out with us the whole time, watching, and he was. They were both a blast to be around.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was wondering who brought him and what they were doing. It sounds like he just hung out and watched. That's awesome. I think it's great when youngsters have parents that are willing to go that route just for their interests. I think that's great.
Absolutely, yeah. He did some work on the computer. He walked around the hall, but mostly hung around with us and just was there for his son, which is really cool. We so that tournament we went for 3 rounds and top four. The basically, I don't know if you want a full battle report from me on that day. It didn't go well for me, and honestly, I'm not. The only reason I was playing it is because I was also TOing, so I wanted something to do while I was hanging around the convention hall all day.
Do you have any highlights from the FFG tournament on Friday that you want to share?
Well, I did have a lot of fun when I was playing against Joey. Was uh, let's see, here it is. I gained 17 victory points from killing his emperor because I had the price on his head and celebration and the extra point from Jabba. So
Nice.
Emperor is usually worth 8 points, and I got 17 for it. Combine that with killing one Royal Guard of his, or no, one Riot, and then just objectives. This was on Tarkin A, the one where you chase the strain token up and down the map. So
Okay.
I got 3 objectives pretty quickly in the first round. Got some points with black market prices, rebel graffiti, objective, killed the Emperor, rebel graffiti, riot, objective, rebel graffiti, objective. So of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 points from objectives, 6 points from rebel graffiti, 2 from black market prices, 2 from Jabba, and then 4 each from price and celebration. I killed 11 points worth of figures and ended the game with 41 points. So that's a pretty good representation of what the Jawa VP Swarm does when it goes off well.
So we should probably mention the map rotation was a little different for the FFG tournament. Not the rotation we're using for ICP now, but also not really the official map rotation. I think we used the official map rotation, but we rotated out Lothal Wastes for Endor Defense Station. So
Yes.
how was it playing on the old maps again?
I made a post about this in Slack when I was getting the tiles together for Endor Defense Station because I had the other 2 neoprene mats still left over from the old FFG days. But when I went to assemble Endor Defense Station, it was a lot bigger than I remembered considering that most of the time when you're playing on it, you're only using about half of it.
Yeah, it's a really big map, but it has that like blocking line of sight thing right in the middle that makes it really difficult to make any kind of long range shots. So it's really it favors close range figures, even though it's such a big map.
Yes, and so our first round was on that, and it was the one where the middle room is worth 6 points, and the control point out in the forest is worth 4. So I went up against the Han Rangers on that. So I basically just piled in a couple figures into the center room and dared him to open his door, which he didn't. And the standard thing against Han Rangers: kill 2 Rangers, pick up some support, and win.
Yeah, that's a tough mission for Han Rangers. Do you remember what the other two Swiss rounds were?
So for me, the second round was so round 2 was on Tarkin A. That's the one I was telling you about, Joey. The third one was against Brian V. Mine was against Brian V. It was the Coruscant Back Alley's posters mission.
Okay.
So that was pretty entertaining. I ended up losing that one because Brian's Bantha was able to just chew through all of my poor Jawas. So that was an unfortunate matchup for me. Then in the top 4, I lost to David with his HKs, who he's been playing HKs since they came out, basically. So he's got all the experience in the world with them. I was at this point, after losing to Brian with some bad dice rolls and bad card draws, and then the bad rolls and draws continued into that game, and I lost my cool, got really tilted, and quit partway through round 2, even though I probably could have at least made it worth something.
Oh, okay. That was against. So I'm looking at the standings. It looks like you played Destructor round one, Joey round two, and then Brian V round three, and then David in top four.
That is correct.
So what? So again, what were the missions? Were the 6 point? I think that's the barracks one, round one on Endor Defense Station, and then round two you said was the posters on the mall map.
No, that was round 3. Round 2 was Tarkin chase the strain token.
Oh right, so Tarkin rogue AI on round two, and then round three is posters on Coruscant back alleys, and then what was the top four round or mission?
The top 4 was up against was on Tarkin weapons. So
Ah,
going in
okay.
and which is one of my favorite missions, just because it can get really bonkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Jawa
So
Swarm too. Like if you can get those Jawas picking those up, but
absolutely, yeah.
David's really good.
It's that one's always a fun time.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, there was also a side event on Friday, right? The four-player pods. Did any of those fire?
Yes, we actually had 2 4-player games going. So after I got out of top 4, there was a group of 3 waiting for a 4th player. So I went and joined them.
Sweet.
And then Josh, his brother Joe, I don't remember if April was playing or not. Josh's wife, who was there to help run the Saturday event, but they got a game going, and then Joey, Kent from Winnipeg, and Travis, who was a Chicago native, we all got onto Hoth Battlefield for a fun game. I brought out my IECP list with the Emperor Jets tank list. Joey had his Royal Guard champion list. Kent was running. Let's see, what was he running?
Probably Jedi, or was he running Boba Mando?
It wasn't the Boba Mando. I think it was what he was running in the Ffg thing, because he left his IACP list in the hotel room. But let me
Oh,
just look to see who
so he
got
was running
what.
Han Drock Sabine then. I have the lists
Yes,
up
he
here.
was. Yep, I see a kill on Drock here, and yeah, and then Joey. So it was on Hoth Battlefield, which is a very fun 4-player map because everybody's very close to each other, and it's the mission is called Blood on the Snow, and it lives up to its name.
Nice. Oh, and
So
I
it's always fun to be able to get in around a 4-player. So I was very glad to be able to do that.
And I should mention, you were running the FFG one. Josh ran the ICP tournament, but April, Josh's wife, was there working on both events, doing scorekeeping and pairings and stuff. So big shout out to April for all the help she gave over that event weekend.
Absolutely. She wasn't there to play. She was there to help, and we super appreciate everything she did for us.
Definitely. Okay, so should we move on to Saturday?
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
well, I'll tell you about what I was playing first.
yeah.
So going into ICP tournament, like I said, I had a lot of success with tank jets in the tournament beforehand. So that is the SC2M repulsor tank with the targeting computer attached. So altogether, it's 10 points of tanky goodness. I also had the Imperial retrofitting, obviously, which gives it a free move or gives it the assault keyword during the activation that you use it. I also had Emperor Palpatine, who is always great. Two sets of jet troopers, two regular Imperial officers, one of them with advanced comms system. Then I had Rule by Fear, Zillow, and Extra Armor. With Extra Armor, I had two block tokens on the tank and two block tokens on the Emperor.
So you didn't go with the block tokens on the jet troopers then.
No, the Emperor is too high value of a target to that also needs to get in close to the melee one too often. So he got the block tokens, and the Jets could take care of themselves between fuel upgrade uh, and their own agile.
Oh, interesting. That's good to know. Um, okay, yeah, and you had been running this list, but with Iden Versio instead of Palpatine for a while, right?
Yes, with Iden and Heavy Fire instead of Palpatine. And then on the drive to Chicago, I had the realization that wait a second, if I would just want to splash last hit onto people, which is mostly what I was using Heavy Fire for,
Hmm.
Palpatine does that and also gets more attacks out of the tank and also does reliable damage. And
Hmm.
when I was playing with Iden, often she would dirtle around in the back line for too long, not actually accomplish too much until round three. And then I decided that I could do much better with a more active Emperor coming in.
Yeah, you had messaged me on Slack like the day before the tournament, asking my opinion on that, and I was like actually out on a walk with my family, but I snuck away for just a minute because I figured you probably needed that right away. But it made sense to me when you proposed it. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that I I'm definitely going to say that last minute change did a lot of good, and I do think that made my life a lot easier and led to me winning. I probably wouldn't have won some of the closer games without the Emperor if I'd had Iden instead, which is a damn shame because I had gone to the store, I'd gone to the game shop, gotten an Iden, and spent the day before I left, the evening before I left, getting it all glued together. Had a cool little magnet do set up so that I could put Dio onto Iden's space or separate it out when he's going off to do his own thing. So I'm definitely going to be next time I play in person. I'm definitely going to be going with Iden just so I can use the Legion mini and not have wasted the money there.
Yeah, I've bought a bunch of Legion minis too, but now I've not played in person at all, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so let's go through your games here. So actually, before we do that, we should talk about the map rotation. So the current rotation we just recently had a map rotation. Deveron Garrison rotated in, and then we also had not Chopper Base, the one with mortar
We
fire.
had Moss Isley and we had the Moss Isley back alley, so the Jawa map, as well as the let's see, where is
Lothal
it?
Spaceport. That's what it was.
That's the one. Yes, Lothal Spaceport which is a very fun and interesting map, even though I've really enjoyed having that one in rotation.
Nice. So do you remember which map was on round one?
I do because I write down. I always make sure to write down the map whenever I take these down. So round one, I went up against Kent from Winnipeg. It was on Lothal Spaceport Mortars mission,
Mm.
the one where you shuffle up the tokens and place mortar, and you can hit people with mortars on the way around. So that one was a bit of a blowout. So I was able to kill. I put the tank up, double moved, and was still able to attack using Imperial retrofitting, and got a max roll. I think think yeah, it would be a max roll versus his blank roll on a white die. So did 8 damage in one shot to Hondo, which then I was able to clean up with Palpatine. So that kind of was how things started. Picked up 6 points of objectives, killed Greedo, killed Bib, killed Boba, and then that bringing me to 32 points. And then I just was able to put all of my figures onto objectives and clear out the game pretty quickly without losing a single figure.
We should mention Kento was playing Boba Fett, 10-point Mando with Clan of Two, Hondo, Bib Fortuna, Greedo, and then he had Heavy Fire, Black Market, and Devious Scheme. I'd like to know how much damage did you guys each take from your own mortars on that mission?
Uh, I
Ballpark.
don't re- I don't think any. I hit his bib for 3 with my mortar, and I don't. And so the game was over by the end of round 2. I don't think,
Oof.
and I don't think either of his mortars hit, and my mortar in the second round did not hit.
Okay, well I guess that's just me then.
Yeah, well,
Um,
yeah, that's it's very important to remember which ones you placed, and that's one thing I like about Vassal is you can see you can tell which ones are yours and which color each is without having to like be very obvious to your opponent that you're like checking to see which one is which.
that's true. I still forget. Um,
Yeah,
okay, so round two then. Let's see. You played against Joey, right?
that is correct. So that was my one loss in Swiss was against Joey. That was on Deveron with the moving crates. So he Oh, I still I moved my so we did our he's playing Royal Guard champion, 2 sets of riot troopers, Mara Jade, and an officer and upgrades. He parked his at the end of round 1. He parked his Mara right next to my tank. At the beginning of round 2, I did not have to take initiative, and it turned out he had negation in his hand anyway. Beginning of round 2, Mara uses RGC's Flurry of Blades to
Flurry.
perform 3 attacks.
Nice.
My tank is gone. And that kind of set the that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. I was able to get in some good hits, and it was very nice to be able to use Emperor to finish off Mara and not die and only take 2 damage and not die to the RGC Executor attack. But even then, he was able to just grind my forces down and take the win. So that was a very well deserved win from Joey, even though he got a couple dodges. But you know what? It's a dice game. That's how things work.
Yeah, I've only just started going through the game logs that we've gotten since the end of January, and I've seen quite a few of Joey playing that list, doing exactly what you just said. He like end of round double moves Mara up to something, and then start of next round flurries it to death. And he's been crushing on Vassal with that list leading up to Adepticon, so I'm not surprised.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And his spoiler alert, his loss in top 4 that kept him from the final table with me was it was 17-18 if I remember right at the end of
Oof.
by the time was called.
Yeah, because he was
So
undefeated in Swiss.
yes,
So he was playing. I think we can. I can just go over real quick. He's playing Royal Guard champion Mara Jade, 000 without Afra or anything like that. 2 riot troopers, 2 imperial officers, Zillow rule by fear, and advanced comm system. So
yes. It's
pure
a good
melee.
list. It's pure melee and it works for him. He knows how to play it. He's very good at positioning, and I give him nothing but props. If we'd gone up against each other in the last mission, I think it would have been close either way. The final mission was incredibly close. But here let's move on.
Hmm.
My third round was against Josh Songer of the IACP steering committee. He was playing Mando at 10 with Clan of Two. He had, let's see, who did I all kill here? He had HK with Headhunter. He had Bib, Greedo, a Jawa, and and Onar. So just a lot of stuff going on.
So what mission was that played on?
That one was on Moss Eisley Stashes, the one where you stand on objectives for 2 points apiece.
Okay. I think you were his only loss in Swiss too.
That is correct.
So how did
Yes.
that one
So,
go? Or any highlights from that one?
um, I was able to tank a lot of hits by using the tank's defensible ability to add key evades on top of my black die roll, on top of my block token, on top of Zillow, on top of I had armed escort active for most of the second round. So
Nice.
armed escort is a card that probably most people aren't going to remember what it does. It's a droid or vehicle card that used during your activation during this round. Any other friendly figure within 2 spaces gains an evade. So I put that on one of my jets, parked that jet behind the tank, and the tank had an evade for that entire round. I based so it was, and also that what I liked about that what I like about that with fuel upgrade is that it stacks with fuel upgrades, so you can get 2 evades, and B, it also protects Palpatine, which if you keep Palpatine close to the jet that has armed escort, you're golden. He's getting his extra armor and also his free evade, and he's rolling Boba defense with also Boba health, if I remember right.
Now, did you ever play that in the same round as fuel upgrade?
Unfortunately, I never got to pull that off. I never got to live the dream.
I was just wondering if maybe you would spread them out more if like there's diminishing returns on the extra evade.
That really depends on what list you're going against.
That's true.
Because my list generates evades like nobody's business already, even before command cards, between the Jet's Agile and the
Hmm.
Tank's Defensible. So if I'm going up against lists with with strong surges, and that I can take away, that's always a bonus for me. Which most figures out there are surging for +2 damage. So if I can take that away, I'd gladly trade one block for one evade at any time where I can block 2 damage instead of one.
Did you lose your tank every game, or were there any games where it was able to last the whole game?
So the first game against Kent, it lasted the whole game. Like I said, I didn't lose a figure. Lost it in round two. Lost it in round three. I play pretty aggressively with the tank. I
Yeah.
put it up in their face, use the focus fire, use Palpatine, get another attack out of it, and then use its defensive ability just to be able to tank, pun intended, a lot of hits and waste a lot of their attacks. So I expect the tank to die, and then I expect the jets to move in behind the tank and clean up injured figures and take objectives.
That makes sense. And I don't know if we mentioned this for people, but the Imperial retrofitting 1 point upgrade is what lets the tank get that free move action and then still have 2 actions left to use focus fire. How often would you say you probably didn't use? You don't need to use the assault ability on that, obviously, because the tank already kind of has that built in. But how often did you end up using the deplete for the focus ability?
Every game. I try to use it every game where if basically it's pretty easy to tell at the beginning of round two if I'm going to lose the tank that round.
Mm.
Depending on how many figures are looking at it or can look at it by during the round. And so I'll either deplete it on what I expect to be its last attack, or if I really need a figure to die, I'll deplete it, get that focus, and combined with the targeting computer, that I'm rolling the pain bow at them, and with a reroll, so I'm able to get some pretty good results out of it. I don't think
Nice.
I ever used the search for blast all day. Actually, it just either would have helped, or I just didn't have the surges in situations where I was able to fire into crowds.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, do you want to talk about your round four game? Looks like you played against Josh's brother.
Yes, played against Joe Songer, who's Unreal Sky on Discord and Slack. He was playing with a Rebel power token list, so with Cassian, Kotun, Han. He had Jin as well, Hera, R2, 3PO, Gideon.
Yep.
So that one was pretty close. By the end of the second round, he had all 4 of my jets to 6 damage. I was able to use
Wow.
Zillow discards to keep everybody alive at 1.
Oof.
And I hid one set of jet troopers. This was on Devron Garrison with the tokens. So the crates will gain power tokens over time. I was able to just keep. I took control of the inside, and he moved to the outside. So I was able to keep those two spots, the two crates. I just used my jets to hold on to those and bank up those points all over the throughout the whole game. And then I would open the door and just I sent my jets up to clear up. He kept Gideon, Jin, Odan, and R2D2 up in his deployment zone to kind of come in and pot shots at my figures, and then sent everybody else to the outside. So I was able to clean up his figures up in there with my jets, and then the tank was sent around through the middle doorway after clearing up those, and got a couple key kills specifically on let's see, Gideon Jin got the kills on Cassian and Kotun, and then I was able to win in the end by a couple lucky defense rolls to keep figures alive when they probably shouldn't have, and get in through the end of the game.
So did you not lose any of your jet troopers?
No, I lost. I lost one set of jet troopers. They got picked off by Han and Kat and Kotun, if I remember right. He was able to clear them out after being left at 6 health, but the other set were just sitting on getting their points back. But between Palpatine and the tank and some very heroic officers, I was able to get enough objectives and get a few key kills to win out the game.
Nice. All right, so that put you 3-1 and into the top four.
Yes.
So top four cut, you played against Josh Songer again.
Yeah, I did. It was a rematch. Let me see if I can remember. I didn't write down the map, but process of elimination, I can figure out what the map was. It was the other Lothal spaceport mission. So this is the one where the objectives are worth 1 point and heal you for 1 each, and you can run in and activate the generators with 3 actions for 12 points.
This is the one with the Uskru doors that are locked and open at the end of the round.
Yes. My cat is chewing on something they probably shouldn't be. I'm going to investigate.
Well, while you're doing that, let's see. So Josh was running again. Mando, Clan of Two. He had HK-47 at Headhunter, Jabba the Hutt, Onar Koma, Greedo, and Bib Fortuna, and then a Jawa Scavenger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 activations. I'm curious when Jake gets back to hear how the Headhunter went with HK-47, who uses Mockery to trigger that with the Strain. That's something that we've really only been seeing people do recently.
I was gone for the last 15, 20 seconds.
No, that's good. I was just going over Josh's list while you were gone. So I was going to ask you how that went, and specifically how, in both this game and the other game in the Swiss, how HK-47 with Headhunter did against you, and if that was really effective.
In both games, Headhunter HK was the first thing I killed.
Oh yeah, okay.
So yeah, that's I think in the first, if I remember right, I think he got one of my cards in the first game, but with the Uskru doors, he wasn't able to strain one of my figures, and then and then in the beginning of round 2, I moved the tank in and focus fired HK for the kill. Okay. If I remember right, I might be wrong. If Josh, go ahead and leave a comment of how stupid I am.
Okay. Okay, so that makes sense. So it took out HK-47. I don't actually have the score recorded here, so anything else you want to say?
I won the top 4. I ended up winning 47-29.
Okay.
So the big jump is I had 35 after killing all of his figures except for, let's see, I got Mando. So in the second round, he sent his Mando in to try to assassinate the Emperor, and the Emperor survived and got away. And with Mando there, I decided to just eat the 1 return fire, and I was able to clear him out with the Emperor and a bunch of jet attacks.
Okay. So before we move on to the finals, I wanted to ask you about this. You played against the 10-point Mandalorian 3 games out of the tournament, and you won all 3 games. So you've been, I mean, I think it's not a secret what side of the Mando argument you're on, but why don't you say what do you think of Mandalorian now after Adepticon? If you want to share your thoughts, or if not, we can also move on.
Sure. I think that the Mando Rising Phoenix is not at so against Mando Rising Phoenix excels at picking off mid-range figures. My list does not have those.
Hmm.
So he's not very well oriented against my list. Uh, I'll open with that. So he didn't present too much of an issue. Most in 2 of the games, I just ignored Mando and killed everybody else. And in the last one, I was he was left in a place where I was felt confident to take the one return fire, and just chew through him with my jets. So so with that in mind, I don't think it's a very fun play experience when a figure with speed 5 and mobile can roll up with a focus and some. Let's see, I'll answer that later. I don't think it's very fun when a figure with speed 5 and mobile rolls up with a focus token and a bunch of hunter cards, and then just wipes one of your 10 to 12 health figures in one go. I don't think that's a very fun experience. However, I do think he has a place in the meta as somebody who can wipe those mid-range figures, which are more and more as we either make the Ffg ones better or make more of our own. They're more and more a part of what the game is. So having a rock pit, I think he's fallen into a rock paper scissors area right now. I'm waiting. You said earlier in this video that you are just now putting in all the data from the game since January, since the nerf.
Hmm.
So I'm very curious to see what the data says to back that up.
Okay, interesting. Oh, that's good. Okay, moving on to the finals. So you had played against Destructor, who we talked about earlier.
Yes. So
Um,
he
Go ahead.
was playing Emperor, Migs, Iden, Thrawn, Agent Blaze,
Hmm.
uh, an officer, and upgrades.
Remember when we
So
tried to take
he had kind of an Imperial mid-range list, which is pretty similar actually to what I was thinking to run, but his uses MiGs instead of mine was running either Blaze or not even. He's using MiGs instead of Callus. That's what it is.
Yeah. Remember when we tried to pull Blaze from the approval vote because we thought he wasn't good enough?
Yeah, well, now he's top 4 at Adepticon, and I did win a Vassal season tournament with him in a list once. So I think he's fine where he's at.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Did you mention what mission it was played on this?
Yes, so this was the Moss Eisley crates mission where you run in, grab crates, and go dunk them. So with that game, uh, the initial opening was the pretty much the usual, where I was playing pretty aggressively with my tank while he was huddling around his terminal. So not much happened in round 1 except for his MiGs getting in a couple lucky shots and having a couple lucky dodges. So that was in the first and second round. MiG survived a little longer than he probably should have statistically, but hey, that's the white die.
Hmm.
Uh, I was able to use the tank to pull Iden off the field pretty quickly, and then soon after that, MiGs with some jets and Palpatine. He got 3 of my jets and the tank pretty quickly. He pulled all my jets and the tank off the field, and then it kind of turned into a Palpatine off while I cleaned up Thrawn and Blaze with my Palpatine and tank. This is kind of going disjointed because the most memorable part of this is the ending.
Okay, what was the
The
ending?
ending, the ending was his Palpatine killed my Palpatine, and I had 2 officers left, and a bunch of crates on the field.
Wow.
So basically, it turned into my officers trying desperately to stay out of range 7 of Palpatine, the move 3 in lightning,
Yep.
because they would just die in one shot. And him, he juked. He juked right when he should have juked left, or I guess from his, he juked left when he should have juked right. Because, and this is one of the things where experience kicks in. He didn't know that figures can dunk into either deployment zone. He thought they had to go back to my officers had to go back to my deployment zone.
Oh, yeah. Yep, yep.
So I was able to run around the field, pick up some crates, and dunk in for the last 12 points I needed by one officer getting 2 crates, one officer getting 1.
So his Palpatine was too deep into your side, and you went past him to Destructor's stash to dunk the crates. Then, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's that's not it. It would have been I think you would have had a field day with this match going in if we had Vassal log for it. It was a very close game the entire time.
Yeah, I heard it
And
was a real nail biter.
Yeah, Destructor is a great opponent, and I'm glad he's sticking around because I think he's going places.
Nice. Okay, well,
But yeah,
congratulations.
I ended up winning after a very very close match, and that cleared out a very fun Adepticon.
Awesome. Well, there's a couple things I wanted to ask you about, kind of miscellaneous stuff about Adepticon, or about the tournaments. So the first one was, what was it like playing IACP with like physical, real, actual models?
It's always a blast. I was lucky that we were able to get an ICP event going in the Twin Cities last fall. So it hasn't been we've gotten in some ICP in the Twin Cities since COVID started, but not much. But it's always much more fun to be able to walk into a real place, talk to real people, and roll real dice.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that I'm sure have only ever played with IACP on Vassal or Tabletop Simulator at this point. So I'm sure it must have been
Right.
really cool
Well,
to see people's
yeah,
model
the project's
choices.
3 years old, and 2 of those years were spent in COVID. So.
Yep. Did you see any interesting choices of models, or was it mostly just like Legion models?
So I think my favorite fill-in model was Josh's. I don't even know what game it was from, but just a guy holding a spear
Spear
and
guy.
holding a spear in one hand and a middle finger in the other, and he was using that for his Mando, and that was very fun to see on the board.
I should mention one of the players, Brandon, who was there with his wife Stephanie, who also played. They had some really good pictures of their models, and Brendan had a really good Yoda painted up, and I think that was from Legion, and that looked really good. And
Yeah,
Stephanie had a really good Bib Fortuna in her list too.
absolutely. I think it was a WotC mini if I remember right, but either way, yeah, they it was very fun to have both of them in the tournaments that day. That was their first. That was kind of their tournament debut as well. And it seems like they're getting more and more involved in the IACP community. So shout out to Brendan and Stephanie. Hope to see both of you more on the online stuff.
Okay, so then I wanted to ask too. We gave, or I sent to you guys to give out a bunch of printed, like professionally printed sets of IACP deployment cards that you guys gave away at the preceding FFG tournament to people as prizes. And then I think since some of you top forward, you guys, I'm guessing you guys passed yours down since you and Josh
Yes.
or whoever was on the steering committee already had one. I think it was just you, but
It was me. When you said you were going to do that, I just asked you to print off an extra set, and I paid you for it. And
yeah.
honestly, great investment. They were very, very well done cards, and it'd be cool to be able to do more of those. So, but the prize on deck for the ICP was a full set of those cards.
Hmm.
But I already had one, so after I won, I shook Destructor's hand and gave him the whole stack because I already had a set. So he definitely earned them, and I hope he put them to good use.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that the a lot of people probably got them in the FFG tournament that maybe weren't going to be play ICP, but I saw that Brian Vandergalen, he played in the FFG tournament and he ended up joining the ICP tournament at the last minute the next day. So I know that there's some people that played that maybe haven't played a lot of ICP. Did you hear anybody commenting, like people that were converted from FFG to ICP, and what if anybody thought anything about it?
Honestly, I was too busy running. I was too busy playing in the games, and most of my games were done with 20 minutes left on the clock. And usually, I'd take that time. We were right next to the exhibitors hall, so I would take those 20 minutes to go for a walk, use the bathroom, get some water, and go walk the exhibitors hall and check out some stuff there. Go do some window shopping. It was keep mentally refreshed through the whole day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did get some nice comments from people that were playing ICP for either the first time or were kind of new to it. So I thought maybe you might have overheard something too. But
Yeah, well, like I said, Brendan, Stephanie, they both were semi new to the crew, and they seem to have had a good time. So I was them as well. I think Brandon or Brian's always fun to see. Like I said before, I'm glad he's going to be getting more involved in ICP. Uh, so the I'm able to name so many specific people because the FFG tournament was 11 people and the ICB tournament was 10.
yep, and I mean that's just it's we have to build up from there, right? That's you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
It's we're rebuilding from both a dead game and b a pandemic. So
right. And honestly, I thought that was a pretty decent turnout considering the circumstances. And even with COVID in the last couple months, uh, I've noticed a market increase of people joining our Discord, of people joining the Slack, and getting involved in ICP who are picking up the game new, even though it's been canceled for 3 years now.
yeah, and I actually want to give a shout out to Travis Colsar. I know played ICP, and I pinged him on Slack because I saw he was playing zero ICP cards in his list, and he went 2-2, and he said he had a good time. He felt nothing felt totally overpowered, although Mando was very strong.
Yes. Correct and correct. Yeah, he Travis was he's a good guy. He came and had pizza with us at Lou Malnati's. The Songer crew, me, Joey, Kent, Travis, and then Destructor and his dad all went out for some Chicago deep dish pizza on the first night after the FFG tournament, and that was also a blast. And that's honestly the part I was looking forward to the most with all of Adepticon was the ability to hang out in person with IA players again. Because even still, we still have the one of the best gaming communities out there. I think.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely, and I'm glad that the people that wanted to go and were able to go were able to go, and I think in the future we'll be able to probably do this a little more further out, get a little more organization going, and hopefully as this thing that's happening in the world starts to, it's not going away, but it's going to start becoming more endemic, as they say, and we'll be able to have more people come out safely,
Yeah,
vaccinated, and people will be able to have a good time.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Here's hoping we could get something together for Gen Con. Don't know if I'll make it to that this year, but it'd really be really cool to have something at Gen Con or other major conventions, or uh, we can uh, we can work with the formerly FFG Center, now just the Game Center. Is they bought it out from FFG and are running their own store there. Maybe we can work with them to get a Shadow Worlds going again, like we were planning to do in 2020.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know how well an ICP tournament would go over there, but
Well, I
maybe.
mean, it's no longer owned by FFG, so we're not thumbing our noses at FFG
Oh,
anymore
I
if
see what
by
you're saying.
playing there.
I see. It's not owned by FFG anymore. Okay, well, yeah,
Yeah, the
maybe.
the general manager bought it out, and now it's no longer FFG at all.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, well, that was sounds like it had a great event. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Jake?
Um, Not really. It's like I said before, it was an absolute blast, and it seemed like everybody had fun. So here's hoping we can get this going again for future for next year Adepticon, for Gen Cons, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, sweet. Well, thanks for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you later.